Genesis 25. Abraham and Keturah. Abraham again took a wife, and her name was Keturah. And she bore him Zimran, Jokshan, Medan, Midian, Ishbak, and Shua. Jokshan begot Sheba and Dedan, and the sons of Dedan were Ashirim, Letushim, and Leumim. And the sons of Midian were Ephna, Epher, Hannah, Ibadah, and Eldah. All these were the children of Keturah, and Abraham gave all that he had to Isaac. But Abraham gave gifts to the sons of the concubines which Abraham had, and while he was still living, he sent them eastward, away from Isaac his son, to the country of the east. Let's read commentary here for Genesis 25, verse 1 through 6. Commentary is coming from the Tony Evans Bible Commentary. So here we read, the author mentions Abraham taking another wife, without seeming to comment on whether Sarah was still living when he did or the ethics surrounding the decision. Importantly, although God's established order was for marriage to be between one man and one woman, polygamy crept in early. Though the Old Testament does not condemn polygamy as frequently as we might expect, we see strong hints even here that the practice was problematic. Isaac, after all, was a son of promise, so Abraham gave everything he owned to Isaac. The sons of his concubines were only given a few gifts and sent eastward, the east, as we will recall, being a recurring negative symbol throughout Genesis. Okay, we are going to continue on scripture. Verse 7 of Genesis 25, Abraham's death and burial. This is the sum of the years of Abraham's life which he lived, 175 years. Then Abraham breathed his last and died in a good old age, an old man and full of years, and was gathered to his people. And his sons Isaac and Ishmael buried him in the cave of Machpelah, which is before Mamre, in the field of Ephron, the son of Zohar the Hittite, the field which Abraham purchased from the sons of Heth. There Abraham was buried, and Sarah his wife. And it came to pass after the death of Abraham that God blessed his son Isaac, and Isaac dwelt at Beer Lahai Roi. Let's read commentary here from verses 7 through 11 of Genesis 25. So when Abraham took his last breath and died, it brought together his two previously estranged sons. Together they even know, because she was convinced God was at work. Continuing scripture. Verse 12. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I read the wrong scripture? Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, I did. I read the wrong commentary. Together they buried him in a cave of Machpelah and his wife Sarah, but the family strife had hardly been buried with the patriarch. Okay, I'm sorry. Verse 12. Genesis 25, verse 12. The families of Ishmael and Isaac. Now, this is the genealogy of Ishmael, Abraham's son, whom Hagar, the Egyptian, Sarah's maidservant, bore to Abraham. And these were the names of the sons of Ishmael by their names according to their generations. The firstborn of Ishmael, Nebajoth, then Kedar, Adbeel, Mibsam, Mishma, Duma, Massa, Hadar, Tema, Jetur, Naphish, and Kedema. Forgive me for mispronouncing these names. These were the sons of Ishmael, and these were their names by their towns and their settlements, 12 princes according to their nations. These were the years of the life of Ishmael, 137 years, and he breathed his last and died, and was gathered to his people. They dwelt from Havilah as far as Shur, which is east of Egypt, as you go toward Assyria. He died in the presence of all his brethren. This is the genealogy of Isaac, Abraham's son. Abraham begot Isaac. Isaac was 40 years old when he took Rebekah as a wife, the daughter of Bethuel, the Syrian of Padan Aram, the sister of Laban the Syrian. Now Isaac pleaded with the Lord for his wife, because she was barren, and the Lord granted his plea. And Rebekah his wife conceived, but the children struggled together within her. And she said, If all is well, why am I like this? So she went to inquire of the Lord, and the Lord said to her, 2 nations are in your womb, 2 people shall be separated from your body. 1 people shall be stronger than the other, and the other shall serve the younger. So when her days were fulfilled for her to give birth, indeed there were twins in her womb. And the first came out red. He was like a hairy garment all over. So they called him him his name Esau. Afterward, his brother came out, and his hand took hold of Esau's heel, so his name was called Jacob. Isaac was 60 years old when she bore them. So the boys grew, and Esau was a skillful hunter, a man of the field, but Jacob was a mild man, dwelling in tents. And Isaac loved Esau, because he ate of his game, but Rebekah loved Jacob. So let's read commentary here, verses 12 to 28 of Genesis 25. We find another genealogy here, which often indicates a shift in the plot. In this case, the author wants to confirm God's promise to Isaac, contrasting that with Ishmael. Even though Ishmael would have a lineage of his own and would live a lengthy life, the story leaves him behind and moves toward Isaac and his descendants. Names sometimes refer to the actual skin tone of dark-complexioned people. For example, Kedar means to be dark, thus the Kedarites are a dark-skinned people. Isaac and Rebekah encountered a problem similar to Abraham and Sarah's. Rebekah was unable to have children. We aren't given as much insight into Rebekah's struggle as we got with Sarah's, but note that they could not conceive for 20 years. When God answered Isaac's prayer to let her conceive, though he did so in duplicate, as Rebekah began to wonder why her pregnancy was so active, God answered, 2 nations are in your womb, 2 peoples will come from you and be separated. Even before their births, Jacob and Esau were battling one another, foreshadowing the coming conflict between their 2 nations, Israel and Edom. God also let Rebekah know another surprising detail about these twins. Unlike the custom of the day in which the older son would get the birthright and the blessing, the older would serve the younger. The twins were the twins were finally born. The older was covered with red hair like a fur coat, and they named him Esau. He was also called Edom, which is the Hebrew word for red. The younger came out grasping Esau's heel with his hand, so they named him Jacob, which means he grasps the heel. Jacob's name is an important one because it can also mean he strives or he deceives. Both meanings prove prophetic over the course of his life, the deception part coming into play in just the next few verses. Personality differences are an enormous factor in the conflict between Jacob and Esau. Esau was outgoing, while Jacob was a homebody. By itself, this may not have been a problem, but it apparently led the parents to choose favorites. Isaac loved Esau because he was a man's man, and Rebekah loved Jacob because he loved spending time at home. Isaac and Rebekah were as much to blame as anyone in the feud between the boys. Let's continue reading scripture. Verse 29. Esau sells his birthright. Now Jacob cooked a stew, and Esau came in from the field, and he was weary. And Esau said to Jacob, Please feed me with that same red stew, for I am weary. Therefore his name was called Edom. But Jacob said, Sell me your birthright as of this day. And Esau said, Look, I am about to die, so what is this birthright to me? Then Jacob said, Swear to me as of this day. So he swore to him, and sold his birthright to Jacob. And Jacob gave Esau bread and stew of lentils. Then he ate and drank, arose and went his way. Thus Esau despised his birthright. Let's read commentary here, verses 29 through 34. So one day as Esau arrived famished from a day of hunting, he made an incredibly foolish trade. Esau gave his inheritance to Jacob in exchange for a bowl of food. We see here the character flaws of both sons. Jacob, quick to seize upon Esau's hunger, immediately decided to squeeze him for all he was worth. Sell me your birthright. He even made sure to put Esau on the hook by having him swear an oath. Jacob's grasping and deceiving ways are on full display here. Esau, on the other hand, proved to be impulsive and short-sighted. When faced with the prospect of losing his double inheritance, he reasoned, I'm about to die from hunger, so what good is a birthright to me? In other words, he settled for temporary satisfaction over hanging on to something much more spiritually valuable. This is why the author says Esau despised his birthright, because he considered it so insignificant that a single bowl of lentil stew became more important to him. The author of Hebrews cautions his readers to avoid being an immoral or irreverent person like Esau. Heed the warning. Never let physical satisfaction take precedence over spiritual priorities. Whenever you do, you are despising that which is more valuable. Our generation, saturated with lies about sex, needs this warning now more than ever. Don't be the impulsive fool that Esau was, throwing away your future for momentary pleasure. And that concludes Genesis 25. Stay tuned for Genesis 26.